I mean, guys, all we really need are, we'll take a look at this here. I made this underwriting calculator for everyone. I'll let you know how to grab that in just a moment here, but some of you are already using it. We really just need like what the gross potential rent is, the vacancy, expense ratio, purchase price. We could already kind of put in the interest rate. We're about 7.5 right now, so we'll do that. That's a good ratio there. Put the down payment you might want, loan term. And this works for seller financing as well. I mean, they might do it for, 2%, 3%, something like that. So this really works for that. Doesn't work just for self-storage. I did a laundromat the other day. A lot of you know Gina. We're gonna probably grab that thing. So, but yeah, go ahead and send over. Looks like Ryan, you're sending, if you have the OM or anything like that, um, offering memorandum, that'd be great. Just send the details. And it looks like Taz, you have some stuff. Go ahead and send that over to Chris at chriskirkman.com. But we'll go ahead and take a look at, looks like Ryan has one. We're going to take a look at the location first. And this is kind of what I do. And what I'm doing here is I'm showing you how I could underwrite deals in literally 90 seconds. You could grab like just these basic details, of the gross potential rent, what's the vacancy. If you don't really know, you can kind of just guess on that expense ratio. If they tell you exactly what the expenses are, you can kind of just, modify the percentage there. Later on, as the projections go, you can kind of type in what that might be as you stabilize the property, as you make it better, because we're all here to add value to the property to make more money, of course. So hopefully you get the expenses down, and then put in the interest rate that you currently are able to get right now. SBA loans can be more expensive. Sometimes you might have a lender that could go less. Sometimes your interest rate on seller financing could be a lot less than that. So whatever that is, put that in there. And then whatever your down payment's going to be, SBA loans are a lot less. You could put as little as 10% down actually. So just modify all that stuff. So really, I just need to know like what's the amount of rent annually they're getting, kind of what's the vacancy looking like, what are the expenses, and what's the purchase price. And that's really all we need to know. And then of course we do some projections, end of year 1 through year 5. And lenders, I mean, you can get away with getting a loan as long as the lender knows like, hey, I could hop in there, increase the rent by like 30% or something like that. Because really, guys, I mean, I don't care about the cap rate at all. I just care that I got to pay my mortgage, right? So lenders want to know that you're at a 1.2 to 1.25. So my calculator is built in some color coding here. We got good, and stellar, of course, is over 2. So really a DSCR is what we're looking at, and that's debt service coverage ratio. And that's just like what ratio do you have like to cover the debt? If you're able to just pay the mortgage exactly the amount that it is, that'd be a ratio of 1. But they want to know that you got an extra quarter in there. So 1.25 typically is what they look for. So we just want to get it over that because that's that's how you're going to get a loan, right? So I care about that more than I care about the cap rate. Then of course we care about for our investors, how much profit are you going to get? What's the cash on cash return? So that's what I got kind of built into this. But first comes first, we want to use Radius Plus for storage to take a look at, different markets for that. Ryan, I believe that you have a storage deal. We'll go ahead and take a look at that. And guys, this does not have to be self-storage. We'll take a look at, make sure the address is right. Okay, looks like we got that. All right, I'll go to maps. For that, we're gonna zoom in here. There we go. Boom. All right, cool. So like I said, you could do this in 90 seconds. Grab the sheet that they give you all the info, plug all the numbers in, go over to Google, take a quick peek at the property. We're looking at this one here. Doesn't quite look like storage. Maybe well, it could be inside. Got some train tracks there. I look for what kind of major road we're off of. Looks like we're off of Big Guy right here, which intersects with some sort of freeway or actually those are train tracks. So really big roads. We got a freeway here. We got the 35, which is great. So I'm going to put myself on Google Street View, which is this little guy here, drop him there. Can everybody see the Google, or is that what's showing up on your screen? Google? Yeah. Thumbs up. Yeah. Everyone follow me. Okay, cool. All right. So yeah, taking a look at this. There's the train kind of going by right there. And it looks like this is the building that you're trying to grab. Is that correct, Ryan? This building? You're getting out of the car.
Hey, Chris, I think you put the address wrong. It's 1505.
1505. Okay.
Yeah,
And go back to this 1505. 1505, yes. Central
yeah,
Avenue.
that's right. Yeah.
Northeast, Memphis. Yeah. Huh.
Yeah. Huh.
5. Okay. So I'm not quite sure if this is the one that we're looking for. Anybody else have another deal that they could email me? Let me see if I got any in my inbox here. Practice deal. Cool. All right. Venue sent something over. We're gonna go ahead and pop this open. 1 second here, guys. Looks like we have another one. Travantez sent one. All right. Let's bring this over here. Cool. So we're going to zoom in on this guy here. Okay. Cool. All right. So we got Cypress mini storage. Looks pretty nice. What we're going to do is we're going to grab the address real quick here. Let me put it up there. They don't. Quickly look for the address. Where do I see the address? There we go. 12 and 10 mile radius. Okay, cool. Grab this guy. Go into Google real quick. Looks pretty good. Grab that. Click on that. Cool. Storage looks great. Then real quickly go to the major road here. I'm gonna spin it around. Okay, cool. Cypress mini storage. Nice. We got a little gate there. Really cool. Billboard opportunity, but that looks like it could be part of the land next door. I love billboards on storage. Looks like we got some good parking, so that's great. So we're gonna go ahead and put this address into Radius Plus. Copy that address. And there's other tools out there, but I prefer Radius Plus. It's really, really awesome. All the stuff they're doing. Grab this thing here, and then we can go different radiuses. I typically like to take a look at a 3 to 5 mile radius. Looks like it's pretty saturated in the area as far as storage goes. I'm going to go to a 5 mile radius. I'm going to go to the trade area here, and we're going to look at the square footage per capita. And I assume this is non-climate controlled. It's outdoors. It's drive up style. So we're only going to care about the non-climate controlled, which is a 7.3. I like to stay under 10 square foot per capita. Otherwise, it gets a little bit too saturated. There's too much storage available, so it's going to be harder to fill the units typically. Looks like we're okay at 7.3. Then I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the population. So the population is 64,000, which is great. I like to do things at least 10,000. So we're gonna go ahead and move along on this guy here. Then I'm going to look at the competition and make sure that this is on non-climate control. We're good with that. I'm just going to care about kind of what that average monthly rate is. And we're first going to analyze the 10 by 10. So we're hoping that they're going to give us information on the 10 by 10 in this OM that they sent us. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Okay. Economic occupancy 27. Okay. Purchase price 1.1. So let's go ahead and plug that into our calculator. What was that again? 27. Okay. We'll go ahead and just make that a 25. So we'll just go vacancy. Oh, wait, 20. Oh, shoot. Economic occupancy. Wow. Okay. So it's not very occupied. Wow. Okay. So we'll go. This is 70. This is going to be a little difficult here. So we'll take a look at the gross potential in a second there. Purchase price we know is 1.1. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back over here and see how much rent this thing's pulling in.
Chris, it said 91% occupied, 27% economical.
Yeah, that means people are not paying. So if they're not paying, doesn't matter if they're in there or not. So it's we're gonna have to do some cleanup. We could assume that we could lease that up, even though it's physically occupied 91%, 27, only 27% of people are paying. We're just gonna put 30 in there to pencil that in. What I'm gonna do is at the end of year one, we're gonna hope we can get this thing up to 90, get everybody paying, right? So that'd be good. Since it's at 91, let's maybe do 95. But that's for later. Now we got to figure out how much this thing is actually pulling in right now. And the gross potential is not necessarily like how much it's pulling in now at the very, very low 27% of people paying. We're going to try to figure out how much what's the potential if everybody's actually paying. So let's take a look at this. Usually they'll give you that information. Price acres, okay, total units 201, decent size. All right, let's take a look at this here. Here we go. Revenue. Okay. gross potential. All right, that's what we want, gross potential. Yeah, vacancy discounts. See, they're barely bringing anything in because they don't have a lot of people paying. So that's where that economic occupancy comes in. So don't really care too much about the physical as much as you do economic, because all those people that are in there, they're just getting freebies right now. So we're gonna do 138. And it looks like they have some bumps there. Okay, we'll take a look at why they have those bumps there. And all this stuff you can kind of do once you kind of get this down to memory, you know, this stuff flows and you could do it in literally 90 seconds. I got some videos up on my Instagram at Chris Kirkman that you guys can take a look. So 138.9, let's put that in real quick. 138, we'll just do 140. Make things simple. All right, so this thing is pretty bad. I mean, like I said, you want to get a DSCR of like 1.25. Some banks will do 1.2, and we're at a 0.3. So this thing's going to really have to jump to get it where we want to have it. How in the world is that calculated like that? Oh, vacancy. Oops, we do 5. All right, there we go. That's why. Okay, cool. So I mean, really, if people are paying, I mean, this thing could be doing all right. You know, we get it down to where it's about 95% occupied, only a vacancy of 5, you know, get everyone paying at the end of year 1. Even if we're able to jump the rent by 0%, it's almost at 1 point. We're just gonna have to increase the rent a little bit. So next, all we got to find out is what their expenses are, which they, I believe, had here. Total operating expenses. Oh gosh, it's definitely not bad. Now, what you're gonna have to do is once you purchase a property, your property taxes are probably gonna go up by a bit. Also, your insurance. So don't believe what they say about insurance. Don't believe what they say about property taxes. I would assume insurance on this property is gonna be about 6,000 or 7,000 per year, just kind of based on the size of it. So you want to factor that in. Also, property taxes are gonna definitely go up. I assume property taxes are not too bad in the state. I definitely have to take a closer look at that. But we'll have to figure that out. So they're saying about 42,000, 44. Okay, so we're just going to kind of put in, because operating expenses are still going to be pretty high. I mean, this is probably not true 15,000, because just alone property taxes and insurance is going to be at least that, but they're going to have operating expenses. You're going to have to pay somebody to answer the phone, all those different things. We'll get into that later, what I do when it comes to that once you get a facility. But we're going to do about 40. We'll just put like 43,000 in or so. That's kind of a good middle number to kind of start with. So we'll go back to the calculator. 43,000 is what we're kind of aim at. Okay, so that's that. Okay, cool. So it's about operating. Yeah, it's about, okay, cool. 43,000, so about 30%. So since we're there, let's do like, gosh, we're hardly bringing any revenue in. This is like, oh, it's pretty much 100%. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, we're just going to do 90 for now, but it's going to be a lot. So this thing's bringing in pretty much nothing right now. You're going to lose, like, if this thing stays, these people are losing over 70 grand per year. So not too good shape. But if you look at, hey, we could get everyone to actually be paying, maybe kick people out that haven't paid in many months. Let's go ahead and do that. So once you do that, bring the occupancy up to where it should be, paying occupancy, that is. Hopefully we can increase the rent by 10%. And that's where we find out where basic things like a 10 by 10 might cost. So let's go ahead and see what they're charging. Okay, cool. So 10 by 10 is going for, okay, gross annual potential. Okay, cool. All right, that looks good. Let's just say they're charging $60 for 10 by 10. Let's go ahead and go back to Radius Plus as I indicated earlier, we're going to utilize that. For 10 by 10, the average in the area is 69. Okay. So can't really increase it by that much. Let's go ahead and look at some of the other units that they have. They have like a 10 by 20. That's a pretty standard size. Let's go ahead and see what Radius says that the others are doing on their web rates here. Okay, so 10 by 20 is 118. And then these guys are charging, okay. Oh, wow. Okay, so we definitely have room to grow on this. So you're going to want to just analyze this and then kind of make an assumption of what you could bring the rent up to. They have a lot of 10 by 10s, and we know we can't increase it by that much, increase it by maybe $10. But they also have a lot of 5 by 10s. So let's go ahead and see what they're charging for 5 by 10s. These are $40. radius says that it's about 52. So, I think it's safe to say that overall we could probably increase the price by about 10% at the end of the year, maybe 15%. But it'd be great if you could do 15%. You can kind of see how this stuff grows, but 10% is pretty conservative. And then as the years go on, you can kind of modify all these different numbers as you like, and that kind of helps you calculate, how well is this facility going to do? And you could talk to your investors and anybody that's putting money into it, and give those projections. And really, this is looking pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I would then talk to a lender. I'll talk to a bank. Live Oak Bank is great for storage. I know a lot of you have worked with Live Oak before. Uh, and you're going to say, hey, this thing is not doing very good right now. Actually, a lot of banks won't lend to people that have a facility that is like this much vacant, even though it's 90, what is it, 91 or whatever percent occupied. Still, nobody's really paying. So it's kind of iffy if they would actually lend to this, because really look how much money you're losing. But if it wasn't quite this bad, you can kind of prove like, hey, at the end of year one, really, I mean, look at the DSCR, it's, 1.3, if I did 15%, increase on the rent, that even goes up to almost 1.4. So they're gonna be like, okay, well, that's good. We know you could actually pay your mortgage. You're gonna make some money on this property after the year. And, they want to just know you can pay the mortgage, have enough for reserves and stuff like that. So that's why it's a 1.25, because that extra 0.25 is going to be extra cash that you can, have in reserves for fixing the roof, different expenses that come along. And you got to always factor in reserves, and also expenses for expansion, different things like that. Personally, as far as my buy box goes for self-storage facilities, I already kind of mentioned some of the stuff, but the areas within a 5 mile radius has to have at least 10,000 people in it. The square footage per capita needs to be below 10, which means that there's not too much storage in the area. I also like to focus on facilities that are at least 30,000 square feet. This facility has about 200 units, so it's I'd probably go after maybe this facility, but maybe a little bit larger. I do own facilities smaller, but I typically now go for larger ones, and I'll get into some reasoning kind of behind why I do some of that in a second. But this looks like it could be a decent buy. You just have to kind of really plan on, like, gosh, like why are these people not paying? Like what you got to look at really the financials and see like how long it's been since, all these people have not really paid. So that stuff's really important. So the reason why I like to go for larger facilities, I mean, sure, you gotta raise more capital, but that comes into partnering with others. I think it's really good to partner with others, but there's fixed costs. So a website might cost you, a website and your system to, collect rent, your whole system like SiteLink and all that stuff to manage the property. All that might be like $500. So it's gonna be $500 for this facility. It's gonna be $500 for a 1,000 unit facility. So there's fixed costs that, don't really change based on the size of the facility. So $500, an extra $500 per month for a dinky 60 unit facility is like, that's a lot. That's a lot of money. That's really eating into your cash flow, your expense, how much money you're gonna actually take home, your NOI. And with that, I try to go for larger ones. And the reason I like to partner with others is, of course, we want the whole pie. We want to take all the, we want to get all the money. We want to go alone on this thing and grab all the money, or maybe have one partner. But I love partnering with others because I could go larger and all that. And the thing is, like, if I have the whole pie to myself, I don't like to do everything, and I'm not good at everything. There's certain things I'm really good at, certain things I'm not good at. So if you're self-aware and you know that you're not good at certain things, you don't like to do certain things, you find a partner that you have a synergy with. They're able to kind of, handle the things you're not good at, things you don't like to do. Of course, they take a piece of the pie away from you, but the whole thing is, why just have one pie? Have many pies and many slices of all those different pies. So all that could actually equate to much more than just taking all the pie of this small facility. And you're not going to be doing, things you hate doing and things you're not good at. So less things slip between the cracks if you partner with others and just have many pies going on. And also, the more partners you have, and more capital you could raise too. So everybody kind of divides and conquers. And when you're first starting out, friends and family are great. Let people know that you're investing. This could be for apartments. This could be really for any type of asset class other than storage, which we're kind of looking at right now. But let your friends and family know what you're doing. might not know, they might not know that you are investing in this stuff. And you might not know if they're interested. So if you're posting on Facebook, you're talking at family gatherings, maybe at Thanksgiving, different things like that. They'll know what you're doing. They'll be like, oh, wow, I usually invest in stocks. I kind of want to invest in real estate. That's kind of cool. Tell me about kind of, what you're doing. So once you kind of get the word out there, people are going to start talking about, they might talk to you about it. So I've had a lot of friends and family invest in my projects just because I post on social media what I'm doing, and they get kind of interested and want to jump in. Um, yeah, so just kind of get the word out there. You'll be amazed at who might be able to invest in some of your properties. And that could kind of get you started right there. And if you have a lot of other partners that are, have friends and family too, it's easy to take down a multi-million-dollar facility. You don't have to start with something really small. And also, honestly, like 1,000-unit facility is really not that much more work than a 100-unit facility. Honestly, it's not. You just have to have the right management in place. And when it comes to property management, of course, you'll hire a property management company to manage your apartments, different things like that. They'll take a fee. But for storage, the beauty of that is there's no toilets, there's no kitchen fires. You have to deal with a lot of that stuff. So you don't need somebody really on site. Even if you have 1,000-unit facility, you probably don't even, you really don't need somebody on site unless this is, a boat and RV facility that has, some added amenities and stuff like that to maintain the boats and RVs and stuff like that, or some concierge service, and you have to park different vehicles and, for them, and different things like that. So that stuff might need it, but I'm actually building a massive one on 16 acres in South Carolina, and we actually have to have staff on site because of that. But if it was just all self-storage, there is some self-storage, both non-climate and climate control, but the bulk of it's boat and RV parking. We have some higher end services that we're providing, so we have to have someone there. But if this is just drive up like this facility, really, you don't have to do too much. You really need nobody on site. You automate the gate and you use some systems. Basically, everybody has, it's like a keypad. Everyone has their own code, so you know who's coming and going. You have security cameras all over the place, so you're able to really tell what's really happening. And people are able to rent online. They just go to, in this case, you just have like a website that they can go to. And I could actually pull open what one of these systems looks like. Hold on just a second, guys. Just log in here. Okay, site link. All right, cool. So yeah, I mean, this, you could pretty much do anything in this system. They actually have this is one of the more popular ones. This is the web version, but it's even more robust. They actually have a Windows downloadable actual app that you open on your Windows machine. It's only for Windows, but this is the web version. So pretty much anywhere, even on your phone, you can kind of manage this thing. You're able to do billing, all different things here, but you have a website such as um, this. They're able to just look and just rent stuff. This is one of my facilities here. Just go and rent. You can just rent a unit. Bam, just go here and just rent this. And this is using a vendor called StoragePug. They work specifically with storage. This links up with SiteLink. Within SiteLink, I could just go and actually tell the website pretty much what to charge. This thing right here knows exactly what my inventory is. This shows that I got a 12 by 24, and I got this is one unit that's left. So it'll all do that automatically. I don't really have to do anything. So I could just leave this thing pretty much and it'll run itself, which is kind of great. So all that stuff really works really well. So you get to use systems like this. And kind of going back to the facility, I mean, look at this thing. This is kind of a common drive-up facility. Looks like the fence doesn't go around though. Or does it? Yeah, it does. Okay. So what you do for smaller facilities, I mean, you could really just hire a handyman to just check on the property a couple times a week or be on call, something like that. And what you could do with that is, I mean, the reason why I say handyman versus like a college student or something like that, to, someone just to go check on it, it's because the handyman knows what to look for. They're gonna know, they're gonna notice different things of maintenance that need to be fixed. They could call you, let you know what's going on with that. But it's pretty simple. They just go walk the property, take a look at it, make repairs within a certain threshold of, if you say if it's over $500, maybe they, get approval on it, but, just whatever you want to do. But, that thing pretty much could run itself. So there's that. And then, people need to call, people call, even though most things are done online. For that, you can use a virtual assistant or a call center. There's call centers that are like $300. They're trained in SiteLink or whatever you're using. There's storage. There's tons of other ones. AJ Osborne actually has a really good one as well. He has really good technology. It's a little bit pricier, but it's got all the bells and whistles. It's great for larger facilities. I wouldn't implement that, or actually SiteLink might even be too pricey for a really dinky facility. But there's that. So I see a question about adjusting the purchase price. Yeah, so I'll actually get into that back on the calculator. Sorry to answer that earlier. And then I'll kind of go through some of the other questions in a second here. So with this facility, like let's say, I would not offer 1.1 on this. I know what I can get this up to. But this is like, okay, this is gonna be a lot of work. Look, there's a lot of risk here. So when I'm talking to the seller, I'm gonna be communicating with them, a lot of risk involved. I mean, look, you're hardly pulling any cash here. 70% of people are not paying. This is a huge risk. Look, I'm gonna be bleeding dollars here. So you're gonna need a ton of reserves to pay the mortgage for X amount of months. So there's a lot of risks. So I'm gonna say, you know what, I want to make some adjustments here um, to the purchase price in order to kind of get it to where a bank would lend. So you might, in order to get this closer to like a 1.2, there's other scenarios we could do here. Let me go ahead and just make another scenario. Let's say, for instance, here we go. Here's just like a basic one that I kind of started with. Let me adjust this here. Let's say this thing's making like 130. The gross potential is like 130, vacancy is 10. So it's pretty occupied. Let's say gross potential rent's only about 130. So you're going to look at this and be like, oh my gosh, well, I'm not going to be able to get a lender on this thing. This thing's only, I'll have to put, a lot more down to get this up to a DSCR of what I want it to be. But, for 1.2. But anyway, so let's say you're putting 20, 25% down, whatever. This is a 0.9, so I might knock some cash off the purchase price. So maybe you go like 900,000. What does that look like? Wow, that's not really doing too much. Maybe do like 8.5 or something like that. That's kind of getting us a little closer. So this is a little bit more manageable here, where the property's not really worth $1 million. It's worth like, $850,000 because it's only bringing in 130,000 bucks. The expense ratio, you can kind of play with that. Maybe they're saying it costs that much. Maybe it could be 9, but the thing is, you're gonna look at this and you're like, okay, well, wow, they're spending $20,000 on someone's salary. Okay, I can knock that off. Different things like that. You get the expense ratio down to something more manageable, 30%, something like that. But then you look at the rent, you're like, wow, they haven't charged nearly enough. I could bump this thing by 20. So you're going to take a look at that. You bring this to the lender. You say, wow, I mean, I can kind of get them down 100 grand on the price because the DSR is only 1. Even though they're heavily occupied, they're not making much, their expenses are kind of high. I could kind of prove that I can increase the price by, I mean, that I'm not going to have a high enough DSCR. So you get them down on the price and negotiate it down to like 900, even 9.5. You only knock 50,000 off. Still, you can prove to the lender like, hey, here's what all their units are going for. Here's what all the competition's going for. It's at least 20% more. I know I could do a rent increase. I looked at the rent rolls. I looked at the T12, all this stuff. And I know with very good confidence I can increase the rent by 20%. They're going to say, oh yeah, you definitely can. And you can also get the expenses down. You say, hey, I'm going to lay this person off. I don't need somebody, on payroll for 20 grand. I could do this for, 10 grand or something like that. So you knock that down, and then they look at it. DSCR is 1.45. They're gonna be like, okay, well, this is actually pretty good steal for that. Even though, it looks like as is not very good. You want to run those scenarios and then really show that, hey, I could actually bump that revenue up, from 130,000 to about almost 156,000. Thanks for joining, Chris. Happy Easter to you as well. I'm gonna have a recording of this I'll send to you. I'll send that to everyone. So another question is practice deal. Okay, venue. Okay. Gotcha. Okay, we'll take a look at that. So does that answer your question, Cheryl? kind of like how to do that. I mean, I'm always playing with the price, and the thing is like, if I know I
Yes, it
can still,
does.
yeah, if I know that I could do this for even 1 million, or like, which was their asking price in this scenario, if I know I could do that, or I could do it for, just knock 50 grand off of it, I'm gonna go lower because we got to negotiate, right? So you're gonna, probably do an offer for either 9 or 8.5 even, or something like that. And
Or
then,
8.
yeah, or even 8, and be like, I can't, this thing isn't even like a 1.2. I know you got pretty high occupancy here. Like the thing is you're educated at why you're offering that price. You're not just throwing some random numbers out there like, well, I only want to pay 8 for it. You're gonna tell why. You're like, this I can only pay 8. I can only pay 8.5 for this thing because the interest rate, say it's I can only get a loan for 7.5. Rates are pretty high. This is how much you can put down. Your expenses are pretty high for this, whatever, yada, yada, property taxes are probably going to go up, different things like that. So this is kind of what I'm looking at with expenses. Your gross potential is only 130,000. This is, I'm gonna be losing money every year on this thing. I'm gonna have to put a lot of effort into this. So you kind of play with that and kind of negotiate, but they know that you're giving a price, you're reducing the price for a reason, for a specific reason.
Chris, is there a value that you would attach to having to eject people?
Oh, pardon me?
If you have to get rid of people, obviously in
Yeah.
this particular
Oh, for
scenario,
sure.
there's so many people not paying. What's the cost per
Yeah.
unit to have to take care of that?
Exactly. So going back to the property that we were analyzing, the one that has such a high vacancy when it comes to actual people, economic vacancy, people that are not paying, that right there, you're already going to have to get rid of people. Even a facility that's like, for instance, I took over a facility that was 100% occupied, but we had to get rid of, gosh, 20% of those people because they just weren't paying and they were non-responsive. They couldn't, they're so behind. We even, we're kind of nice and try to do, monthly payments, but they're just barely chipping away. And it's like, you got to give a deadline of when they actually got to pay their whole thing off. And people just were not doing that. So we had to of course evict them. We gave them the chance to pay and all that stuff. So sometimes you have to auction in some states, sometimes you don't. You always have to give notice that you're gonna be either doing that or just basically taking possession of their items. I've had instances where there was like a random car in a unit. I could not reach the actual owner of this thing. We tried for months. And anyway, so we had a car. We found all sorts of stuff in these kind of abandoned units. Sometimes people just throw all their junk in there because it's cheaper than the dump fee at a at the dump pretty much. So people just pay 1 month and then just completely disappear. So you got to watch out for that. But if you have their card on file, you want to be able to charge that, and you charge fees for basically cleaning out their units because you got to pay labor, you got to pay people to actually go there and clean this out, and sometimes it's hours and hours and hours of worth of cleaning. But just an extra dumpster you have to rent is hundreds of dollars, sometimes. So depending on the size, you got to rent. So you got to take that into account. Typically, you'll have a big dumpster or several at your facility, depending on the size. But there's just a set amount of trash, and they might overcharge you if it's overflowing. Like if your lid is open or cracked open, they'll charge you for that. So, it could be, those expenses could definitely rack up. So in this scenario here, you definitely have a lot of people that you're probably gonna have to kick out just because you're not gonna be able to find them. They either you know moved away and completely abandoned their unit. Sometimes they unfortunately have passed away, but you've given basically a certified letter you might send to their house. You've tried calling them, emailing them, but first things first, like when you take over a facility, you're definitely going to want to get the proper contact information of everybody. Email address, phone number, and of course their mailing address. Try to get everybody on auto pay on a system. You don't want to be getting an envelope full of cash every month or whatever. That's not great. Same with checks. You don't want to be taking a lot of checks and stuff like that. Those can bounce. I've had that happen quite a bit. So auto pay is great with card. So that stuff's great. So I mean, all the stuff. I mean, really to analyze the facility, it can take 90 seconds. I mean, I did on Instagram video pretty quickly while holding a camera, so I was like doing it one-handed even. Um, but yeah, so you're gonna get just something like this. You're just gonna scan it real quick. You're just gonna pop open the actual facility, take a quick look at it. Okay, cool. All right, this is the road, yada yada. Okay, cool. Let's take a look at Radius Plus, all the numbers for that. Look at the trade area, take a look at the competitors. We know what a 10 by 10 is going to cost. Plug everything into the calculator, and you can go to underwritingcalculator.com or this URL up there. That basically takes you here, but easy to remember, underwritingcalculator.com. That'll give you this free calculator, and you could use this over and over as much as you want. I screenshot this thing all the time and send it directly to lenders or send this to brokers I'm working with as well to kind of show them what I'm looking at. So yeah, let's tap into some questions here. I know we're kind of running up on time. There's a few things I wanted to talk about at the very end. Should expenses be higher for insurance after property purchase? Yeah, I mean, it could be. I have great relationships with insurance providers, and um, you know, yeah, I mean, I can get really good rates on insurance, but sometimes the person with the property is not properly insured, so their insurance price is not really accurate with what you would end up paying. But you need to really kind of maybe get quotes on that while you're actually looking at purchasing the property. So let's say you get this thing under contract, you get all the financials and stuff like that. That's when you start talking to the insurance provider. Actually, you could even do that while you're underwriting the property. With those basic information, give me a kind of a basic price for that. And I could guide you guys, just shoot me a message for providers of insurance for
Yeah, I was
storage.
just noticing that I think on the performer or whatever the brochure there, I think they had $6,000 for insurance, and then after that, the insurance dropped down to like 2,500, which I thought was a bit strange given how
No
much
way.
interest rates are going. So
Yeah.
wouldn't that then affect purchase price or down payment, etc.?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, it is closer to 6 or 7,000, honestly. Just knowing what insurance costs on these facilities now, it has gone up every year. They just jack the price up a little bit more. So the 2,500, whatever that is false. That you're not going to get that. I mean, that's just definitely baloney. So don't trust everything they put on these flyers, these OMs that they send you guys. Just really do your due diligence and just look at it. Catch that 2,500. Like, no way, it's not 2,500. Look at the property taxes. You can just you just Google like, whatever the city is, property tax, rate or whatever like that. Find out what that is. You calculate that based on the purchase price or whatever. So if you get that reassessment of what the property taxes are, you're gonna know what it's ballpark gonna be. So this person purchased the price and they purchased the property at a certain price. Maybe there wasn't a reassessment for X amount of years, so they're paying a low amount. You got to really factor that in because a whole deal can be crushed based on property taxes. And I know some of you that are familiar with AJ Osborne, pretty much the king. We all know AJ with storage, king of storage. I was chatting with him, and he had a whole deal completely fall apart because of the property taxes. Yeah, it fell apart. So I mean, some states are, Texas is one of them, but there's a lot of places that have really high property taxes, and that you really got to take that into account. I still have Texas. I just closed on a 400 plus unit facility a couple weeks ago in Texas. But you really got to factor in the property taxes. But also look at expansion. Look at what you could do with the property. Maybe you're willing to pay an extra 50,000 or 100,000 or whatever the percentage is, an extra 5, 10, 15, 20% for the property because it comes with an extra 4 acres or something like that. Like the Texas property I was just talking about, I negotiated with the seller an extra 4 acres of land. So we're going to expand onto that thing. You could put boat and RV on that. You just got to make sure that you're not on some grass with like 4 or 5 inches of topsoil to sink into. So be practical on what you're going to do with that land and how long, how you're going to have to, you know, how would you make this actually usable? You might have to pay like 80,000 bucks just to, dig out that topsoil and put gravel in or something like that. So you want to factor that in, but that 80 grand on X amount of acres might be worth it because you're going to look at the revenue you can gain from just having a bunch of boat and RV parking on it, or if you want to build more storage. And storage doesn't have to be that expensive to actually to expand onto. I have a vendor that has some prefabs that are actually really good quality, and including labor and including pouring the cement, it's about 25 grand for an extra 9 10 by 10s. So you can kind of see what the revenue of that is. So you just throw a bunch of those in there, or just put them next to each other. So yeah, I mean, there's expansion could really be a huge value add. And Cheryl, I think you had your hand up a second ago. Did you? No? Okay. All good. All good. Cool.
Just
Yeah.
stretching the fingers.
Gotcha. Yeah, I need to do that too. Had it on my keyboard and mouse all day. Yeah, so the tax cost you'd put in there. So we're getting kind of close to time here. We went through some stuff pretty quickly. We'll get into some questions, but as far as getting started, guys, like don't go. I wouldn't go for these really dinky facilities. Like I said, they could be a headache. Just partner up with people. I mean, a lot of you guys are from the storage community, or I met you on Instagram or whatnot. But it's great to just partner with some other folks. You could hit me up. I'm always down to take a look at deals and analyze them with you. And if you want to partner up on some stuff, I've actually worked with even some of you on this call too. But yeah, just partner with people that have access to capital, people that have access to, might have experience in storage. That's a good way to get started. Partner with someone that's done it before, but definitely do that. And I even have some deals you guys can kind of jump on as well. I just put offers in on 3 or 4 this week. I'm actually gonna do a laundromat in addition to that. But those are all good opportunities to just kind of hop in on deals like that if you have some capital you wanted to even deploy on that. Also, if you guys are interested, I also own a bunch of restaurants. I'm doing a bunch of expansion on that. So if you have just, some spare cash, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 grand or something like that, just laying around and you want to make it work for you, I actually offer a very good rate on return on that, really high interest rate because you got to earn money for only having your cash out for 3 to 6 or 9 months, depending on which strategy it's deployed on. But anyway, yeah, so I also have that. If you guys are interested, definitely hit me up. That could be a good way to just earn pretty good return on your cash that's depreciating, just hanging out in the bank. But yeah, so partner up with some other folks. It's a good way to get started. Go for something a little bit larger. Don't get overwhelmed by a 300 unit facility. Partner with enough folks. Maybe some people have done it before, but definitely I would suggest don't go for these little 50 or 60 unit facilities. You're going to run into a lot of headaches, and the fixed costs are just going to eat away all your profit. You're probably going to take a loss. Yeah, don't waste your time on a Elise said, don't waste your time on a 10 unit facility. No way. Unless these are like big, like warehouse sort of things. But that's a little bit different. Business visa for the US. Yeah. Yeah, Lee. I mean, partner with someone on something bigger. I mean, I got some deals too. If you want to partner on some of that, that could get your business visa. I talked to several people that need to do that, from all over. Canada, there's other countries too. People need that, so they have to buy some sort of real estate. So yeah, hop on a deal with someone else, but a little 10 unit is going to be a headache. You're not going to really make any money on that. So definitely jump on someone else's bigger deal, and just provide value. And everybody could provide value, even if it's just like, hey, just put me on a low percentage. I just want to learn, but I'm here to, I could run your site link, or I could answer the phone for you. You don't have to pay your call center. There's all sorts of different ways you could add value to someone else's deal, just to kind of work with them on it. And, maybe you're the deal finder. A lot of people, they bring me deals and then they hop on, we end up partnering up. It's like, wow, well, thanks. This day and age, I don't have to do a lot of cold calling anymore because a lot of folks are just bringing me some really awesome deals. So if you have a really good deal and you need some help on it, definitely bring it my way. But anyway, yeah, I'd love to answer some more questions. And it doesn't have to be about storage. It could just be about really anything about investing or business, about different systems, efficiencies, different things like that. I'm all about systems and efficiency. I also have out some if you go to my site, statingatreal.com, I have some free courses up on there as well. And then some paid courses that are really affordable too. I have about 50 videos I recorded about, just investing as well as self-storage too. So you guys could tap into some of that stuff. And then of course, grab my, go to underwritingcalculator.com and grab the free calculator. But of course, once you get the facility, you're going to use the big boy spreadsheets, the ones that they give you for free. That it's daunting. It's like, oh my gosh, what the heck? This thing's like a million fields to plug in. How am I going to just analyze this deal? So that's why I created this underwriting calculator here at underwritingcalculator.com. You just got to plug in the basic numbers and really just understand what could I, what's this thing really worth? And what are the basic 5-year projections? Because you don't know anything until you get all the financials. And honestly, once you close on a facility, your plan's just gonna like explode. Like everything changes. Like nothing goes as planned. Your whole strategy is gonna change once you learn about different things. No property I've ever owned went exactly as planned. So look at just kind of plan for the unexpected. But that's why I aim for properties where I can get them really inexpensively, do a lot of value add on it, jack the returns up, get to those really high DSCRs at that point, and then make, of course, all investors really happy, and of course, put money in your pocket too. So you have another question, Ali?
Hey, Chris. Yeah, thanks. I think my internet is a little choppy. If I get
You're good.
disconnected, I'll probably connect later. But I was going to ask you, like, I know you're looking at Radius Plus. Do you use any other software to make sure that the numbers are correct? Like, I know I heard about Cactus Plus or Cactus, something like that. Do you take into account, or Radius Plus should be more than enough to quickly underwrite this property that you just
It's
did?
more than enough, yeah. It's just looking at the web rates of what people are charging, but because it scrapes the web, it scrapes it a lot. And I got some friends over at Radius Plus. I talk to them regularly, and they tell me how everything works and how quickly they scrape things, and they're really helpful people. And I've actually put in some feature requests and stuff like that, which is great. They take those into account. But yeah, it's very accurate. They scrape the web really frequently to get those prices. And they know when new facilities are coming online, different things like that. For instance, if you look at it, let's actually just take another look at it. Let's go back to our trade area here. They have all these different color coded things. If you, it might be hard to see on your screen there, but they have ones that are planning, they're permitted. It could be an expansion play. One's under construction, one's not active. In this area, it looks like we just have a purple one. It looks like this one was just built in 2024 over here. But if you go to like other areas, let's go to Arkansas here, Little Rock area. Actually, I have a property nearby here. In Hot Springs, Arkansas, closed on that last year. You can see that there's planning. There's a bunch of these little green dots here, these turquoise dots. Those are in the planning phase. One's permitted right here. Looks like this is right next to one that's in the planning phase. So they're pretty accurate, really good UI for this stuff. It's a little pricey. It's about I mean, you could actually pay by usage, but I just do the monthly rate. It's either 250 or $300, something like that. You could even split the cost with some friends. But if you ever want to take a look at it with me, just you can actually, on the bottom of underwritingcalculator.com, you can actually book some time with me here. I've got different ways to do that. So deal underwriting help, you can kind of book. This goes directly to my calendar, book some time. I'd love to take a look at some stuff with you. And of course, then you'll get access to Radius Plus. We'll take a look at it, and then go through your deal. So, I'm really long-winded and I repeat myself a lot. So I've gone around in circles on how to do this stuff, but really it could take you 90 seconds. One of the SSI members actually, she just was a rock star. She had so many deals. She had a spreadsheet listing all the basic data that we're going to plug into my calculator. And we went through, how many deals did we underwrite? We did 20 deals on a Saturday afternoon or something like that over the course of 2 hours. And then we submitted, I think, 7 or 8 LOIs that day or something like that. So crazy amount of offers you could put out just by spending a couple hours on this sort of thing. So working with team members is great. You divide and conquer. Somebody can put together a spreadsheet and ahead of time get all the numbers you need to kind of plug in to underwrite it. List out the address so you could take a look at it. But really, all you need is something like this. You get this this OM, offering memorandum, as they're called. It's a brochure, basically gives you some basic details on it. Of course, they fabricate, they lie, it's not going to be 100% true, but it's your job to figure out what's true and what's not true. But there's sites like Prexy.com. That's a great site. It's really easy to sign up. You're able to get access to I don't pay Crexy. You can have a paid membership, but I don't think it's actually necessary. But you got some deals on here. And the thing is, guys, like, it never hurts just to submit an LOI, which is a letter of intent. It's not the purchase agreement. It's basically just telling the seller, like, here's my intention of like what I'm going to offer you. You know, it's this is the price. Here's basically all the terms. I have an LOI template. Let's go to docs here and go to LOI. Yeah, here's an example one. Here's one that had seller financing involved, I believe. So actually, my LOI had like 4 different offers on this one. Yeah, actually, me and Carlos is an SSI member. We just put an offer on this on the 15th, just the other day. So, bunch of different seller financing options, and you could do that. Like for instance, it's like, all right, hey, their asking price was 2.7 million. Uh, it's seller financed. They will put 15% down, but we want only a 2% interest rate and a 5-year balloon payment. So you kind of can adjust. You're like, okay, well, I'll knock 200 grand off of that if you know, you want a bigger interest rate. So I mean, like, it depends on the motivation of the actual the motivation of the seller. You know, maybe he just wants like that huge down payment. So if he wants a huge down payment, just put the purchase price down and just play with the calculator on what works for you. Play out those different scenarios and say, hey, I'm going to knock 500 grand off this purchase price if you want that 40, 30%, whatever, a down payment or something like that. So just you based on their motivation, you could give different offers. And I think AJ's talked about that, giving like several offers in your offer. So this is just a basic letter of intent, OI, just has signatures at the bottom, all sorts of different legal stuff. But this is not the purchase agreement, not legally binding, but this kind of locks you in because you're like, okay, well, oh, I like that guy's offer. We're going to accept it at this. You negotiate, then you do the purchase agreement, which has you're pretty much locked in. We'll say for a different call what I do with the purchase agreement and what my terms are, but I typically like to have as long for the due diligence period as possible and as long for closing because I got to raise capital, right? So, I'm not going to close on this thing in 45 days or 30 days because I got to raise capital for this thing and, try to leverage other people's money as much as you can because you're going to be able to do bigger and better deals. Like I said, partner with others to have more money because you can do bigger deals. You don't have to just buy properties that are based on how much you have. And a lot of people do that. They get in these smaller properties because like, well, yeah, I got this in savings, so this is how much I could afford. It's like, well, no, partner with others, buy a bigger property. Some people are just capital partners. Or you could get into bigger properties and do syndications where that's purely passive. They're not active investors, they're passive investors at that point. And then you have the GP, the general partners that would be like yourself, more active, handling the day-to-day, but you didn't necessarily put the capital into the project. So there's that. But back to Crexy, really great. You can just go to, oops, don't want to do that. Let's go to self-storage. And then location, I don't care where it is in the US, as long as the deal works, it works. I live here in Southern California, and I own no properties other than my primary residence in California. Everything's out of state. And, numbers just haven't worked here in California. Everything's too expensive, can't get enough rent, and you got to go jump through all sorts of hoops. But when it comes to multifamily and all that stuff, and residential, you got all these rules and regulations. But still, with storage, there's not that rent control. You don't have weird eviction laws and stuff like that. Like there's no squatter rights and junk like that. So that's another reason why I choose storage. So pretty much go anywhere. I'm just going to search for that. You can kind of go to filters. You could say, hey, I don't want properties that are, you could basically just play with all the different things. I want properties that are a little bit more pricier. You don't want the dinky ones. So ones that are at least 1.75 million, you could just do that. And then you're getting larger properties here. And the thing is, like, once you get into these, a lot of these will have the OM right here. See, look, view OM. So I could actually underwrite this property. So I could take this thing and then you kind of just go through it real quick. Bam, bam, bam. Of course, you can grab the address. You do the whole Google thing, of course, that we went through. So here we go. Different sizes. This is where you kind of plug it in. See, like I said, 90 seconds, you pop this open. Boom, you figure all this stuff out. You can figure out how much more you could charge for rent based on just this stuff. But here's your income and expenses. Here's your gross potential rent. Here's your expenses, all that stuff. Plug it into the calculator, plug in the purchase price, of course. And then literally in 90 seconds, you guys can underwrite this deal. It's pretty darn simple. Just look, I mean, I just grab this thing. So you're like, all right, well, I kind of know what I'm gonna offer. So, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually submit an LOI. I could email this to this guy here. Or what I like to do is I will just get his contact info. So I can just contact this guy right here. I'm like, oh wow, they got all these people. Cool. Let's send it to all of them, blast them. And then I could call them, maybe I'll call them up and say, hey, I just sent you a message. You could leave a voicemail, say, hey, I'm so and so, introduce yourself, make yourself personable. And the thing is, like, you want to do this, you want to build these relationships with these people because uh like if this doesn't work out, you build out your they know that you're a storage buyer. They might come, you tell them your buy box, they might come to you directly instead of just on Crexy. They might be like, hey, I got this other property completely off market. Here's this, fits your criteria. So that's what I've done. I mean, there's tons of brokers that just send me tons of deals on a daily basis because I built relationships on sites like Crexy. And then that just really makes it a lot more simple for you. But as far as sourcing deals yourself, I would look at areas of high growth. There's a lot in Texas, there's a lot in Florida, even, there's people moving out of state, people moving even out of California, moving to others, to some other more affordable states. And you want to look at those areas. Now, some have like a 2-3% growth rate. Some have like a 5 to 7. So you kind of analyze these trends online. Then you could just say, okay, I want such and such Texas, for instance. I want that area. So you go there with your even within Radius Plus, and then you find all the different facilities, and you could just call them up. You could just call them up and try to talk to the seller. Actually, I have some. I think on my Instagram, I have some cold calls, or maybe even my YouTube, but I've done a lot of cold calling sessions where, I mean, some sellers own like 7 properties and they just want to retire. So it's like, okay, well, sure, I would like to buy all your properties. Let's make a deal here. So there's that. Cheryl has another question. Working with listing agents. Yeah, so yeah, I work with listing agents. I mean, the listing agent could just be, like this broker. Bill could be, the guy that I would work with. But someone that just works directly for me. Yeah, I mean, if you're a big enough company, you're gonna have people sourcing properties directly for you. I've had a team of virtual assistants, anywhere from out of the Philippines to South America, all over the place, that have sourced properties for me. I've done a lot of single family wholesaling as well. I've done storage wholesaling, all that stuff. So they could find properties for you, and the properties that you don't want to necessarily keep, you could, get under contract and see if somebody else wants them. And add a tiny bit of padding for the acquisition fee. Send out a recording of this. Yeah, I'll send out a recording. Yeah, I missed the first 10 minutes. Yeah, definitely. So to everybody that made this call, I'll send actually I'll just, even people that didn't make it, I'll send the recording to. But yeah, I'm going to try to do these as much as possible. Again, yeah, I mean, I'd love to work with anybody that has a deal that they want to underwrite. You could just kind of go to underwritingcalculator.com, go ahead and grab, use this quick calculator, takes you 90 seconds, taught you how to do it. Then down here, you can book a call with me. We'll take a look at, deal underwriting help.
Yes. Quick
Yeah,
question on that calculator. Your calculator is like a quick, like one-stop, like underwriting, yes or no kind of deal. But if you are actually gonna do LOI and moving forward, you probably have a more in-depth calculator that you want to underwrite more properly, right?
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, that's my figure.
Yeah, and there's free ones out there, even SSI, self-storage income. A lot of you are part of that group. They have calculators. You can Google them. There's other free calculators. Even a multifamily calculator could work a lot for storage too. It doesn't really matter, but there's more in-depth calculators that you are going to want to use, and that will plug in, line item by line item, all the different, factors you got to take into account. And you're going to definitely do that for sure. But it's just too much. It's too big of a calculator to use for figuring out if you want to move forward on this deal. So, and the numbers change. Like once you have an LOI or the purchase agreement signed, that's when they might send you more of the financials. You don't get that, usually upfront before you submit an offer. So the thing is, like, even after you have a purchase agreement out, you can renegotiate that. I mean, for instance, this Arkansas property I was talking about, we went out to that property and found out that, I mean, we were under contract to close on this thing. During our due diligence period, we renegotiated the price because the guy put up a bunch of solar lights and they weren't even working. like half the lights weren't working. The facility was dark. We went there at night, of course, to another visit, and we had to renegotiate that. We looked at the electrical work, and it was like poorly done, probably not permitted, all these different things that we had to actually fix once we purchased a facility. So we had to make sure that we got it for a lower price to take into account the extra cash that we had to put forward to make those fixes. So you know, even after you have the purchase agreement out, you could still renegotiate that price, get it lower to factor that in. But still, you're always going to want to use that big calculator, and your investors want to see that too. They want to see really that'll show you projections as well. My team, we have a custom one that we kind of created for that. So if we end up working together on anything, you'll have access to be able to tap into that because you know I have my whole team that I bring to the table. We have all our systems, we have relationships with a lot of different groups that give us discounts and stuff, such as insurance, not just property insurance, but insurance for tenant insurance, basically. So we require all of our customers for the storage units to actually hold their own insurance, renter's insurance for their unit, and they could do it. They could bring it themselves. They typically don't shop it around because it's a pain, or they click a little checkbox during checkout during the rental process to do that. But the cool thing is the insurance provider gives us like 60% of that, so it's another revenue gain, another way to generate revenue. Same with late fees. Late fees, you could generate tons of late. You know, we just bumped ours up to like $35 or something like that. I think I made an extra 10% of 10% revenue on one of my facilities last month just off of late fees. So it's kind of crazy how much more money you can make just off of late fees. You know, it's an incentive to get people to actually pay on time, but people that don't, you just you know, you got the late fee. So there's different things like that. And you know, you could take that into account. I always take into account late fees as revenue as well. You know, you're gonna have late fees, so you could actually put that in your underwriting that you could even show your investors as well as the lender. The lender's gonna want to see that too. And some lenders, they'll have their own projection spreadsheet. There's a month to month, year over 3 year spreadsheet that Live Oak makes you fill in, actually, Live Oak Bank. And I've actually that's a pretty darn good calculator right there. I mean, I was messing with that thing quite a bit when I was underwriting properties. Just the basic one that they make you fill in when you're getting a loan with them. So that's pretty good. So Radius Plus versus Track Q and Crex versus Crexy. So Tracked Q, I'm not as familiar with that. We'll actually pop this open real quick. And thanks, guys. I know we're over time. Thanks for sticking around, and I'm all yours for today. So we could, oh, forgot the T. So we could stay on as long as you want. Tracked Q. Been a while since I've been there. Is that really what it is? Tracked Q. Oh, Tracked IQ. Okay. There we go. Yeah, so this one's pretty good for some stuff.
It's a relatively new tool,
Newer one, yeah.
about a year and a bit old, I believe. And Noah Starr, the CEO, had done a presentation to self-storage income.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty powerful tool overall.
Mhm.
But yeah, just was curious about, you know, since I'm new to this, but you've definitely
Yeah.
used other tools. You wanted to know what you thought of that versus Radius Plus versus Crexy, but it looks like you may
Yeah.
not be familiar with Tracked IQ as yet.
Not as much, yeah. I mean, just because I kind of have a relationship with the people over at Radius Plus a little bit. I'm kind of a loyal customer of theirs, but haven't really used Tracked IQ.
Got it. Okay.
The price is comparable, really. You know, 200 versus 400. What I
I
also
believe there is a discount for self-storage income
Yeah.
members. Just
Nice, yeah. So if you're part of SSI, guys, you can
Mhm.
definitely jump on that. So yeah, there's that. Of course, they give you a discount for yearly, which it's pretty pricey. But anyway, I do like I prefer Radius Plus, but yeah, definitely check out whatever. All these tools are great. They're all great. Crexy's different than this. It doesn't really analyze, you know, storage even the way it is. It's good for sourcing properties and getting information, seeing who the brokers are
Okay.
involved, what the financials actually are, and these are actually properties with sellers that intend to sell right now. And even though they list the price for, you know, 2.7 million or whatever, like the one I was talking about, you can negotiate that. Everything's negotiable. And the thing is, like, submit as many LOIs as you want. And you know, the worst they could say is no, right? When they say no, then negotiate it, right? See where they're at, like where can you negotiate? So just because it's listed doesn't mean, oh my gosh, it's listed. I would rather do off market, someone not even listing, I'd rather go directly to sell it. But really, honestly, like even with stuff that's publicly available, even on Crexy, you could still get really good deals off of that. I've done it before. But of course, go into those mom and pops that own these facilities that, haven't listed anything yet. Of course, you could strike really good deals on that. Lots of really good seller financing deals out there too. But of course, it takes more work. Crexy, bam, we saw all these facilities within a certain threshold of price range that we wanted. There's other metrics you could kind of tap into based on your preferences too within a couple seconds worth of time in the filtration for Crexy there that we took a look at. And you just get you get stuff that meets your criteria, and you can just hit all those people up. You can even have, what I've done is I created kind of this template of what I could just kind of blast over to every single broker. I think what I did was I popped open. I was actually I was going to wholesale a bunch of these properties, like ones that were up to like 1.5 million or something like that. So I took all the properties on Crexy that were like 1.5 million and less, pretty much. Got rid of the ones that had no price because it would kind of put them in there. The ones that are unlisted price or whatever. So got rid of those. So I mean, that was like a ton of them. I just popped a bunch of windows, like on a bunch of tabs, basically. And then I had kind of like a blanket drafted message that actually worked for every single one of them, basically saying, here, I really like this property a lot. Would you mind sharing more of the financials with me, more than or like I said, like, thanks for putting all the details you had right here on the listings, or whatever. I'd like to learn a little bit more if you have some additional financials. So I mean, you're able to just basically take that. You could say, hi Bob. You like personalize it, of course. So okay, the guy's name's Bob. Okay, hi Bob, and then copy and paste. Just hit Control V or whatever, paste it in there and then blast it off. Your basic contact information saved if you have like a, free account on Crexy. So you just do that for all of them. Just, you have like 100 of these windows open. It'll take you like an hour or whatever. You just go window, put that in. Hi, Bob. Okay. Hi, Cheryl. Hi, Angela. Hi, Bernice. Hi, Stacy. Who else do we got? Vanu, Vivian, Liddell, all you guys, just kind of just throw it in there, blast it off. And, you'll be surprised. You get a lot of responses. And they could give you more details on that specific property, more than just the OM that they have listed on there. And you strike up a conversation. And then you could also kind of talk more about what you're looking for. And you're basically just instantly creating a relationship with that broker. And
Yeah.
they're going to start sending you more stuff. You get on their mailing list, and then you just get blasted all these daily, storage things. In my inbox, I got tons of these things that come in daily, and so you could look at this and then you could just underwrite it. Or you might team up with some folks where they have a lot of time on their hands. I have some apprentices and some virtual assistants and stuff like that I work with. That I just forward these to, and they do the basic underwriting on my calculator, and then we might meet weekly or a couple times a week just to kind of like look at them and see what that is. And then there's other people
Really
like,
great idea.
yeah, the people will just bring me a deal, and then we just like meet and take a look at it and look at the underwriting. They'll show me the underwriting calculator that we looked at that I made, what all the details are. Or they'll like copy and paste a screenshot of it and email it to me, and I'll be like, oh wow, this is great. It just takes them a few minutes to do that based on the OM or whatever. And you might have a deal. And like I said, it never hurts to send out that offer, because the worst they
Sure.
could do is no.
And the idea of using a virtual assistant is a good one too. I hadn't thought about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And they're, a lot of them are under $5 or less per hour. In
Wow.
countries that's, goes pretty far.
Yeah,
You
no, that's
deploy
awesome. That's a
them.
great idea.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you have to use
pay
them
6
full
for
time.
mine.
Sorry, Cheryl, what'd you say?
$6 an hour for mine.
Yeah, $6 an hour. I mean, depending on their skill set and what you negotiate, you could get them $6 an hour is affordable if you just have a handful of hours that you're working with them per week, and they can get through a lot. For $6 an hour for X amount of hours per week. They don't have to be full time. Doesn't have to break the bank. You're paying an extra, few $100 a month or whatever, but you're utilizing somebody that could that has the time. Maybe you don't have the time, and they're able to really help you do some of the stuff that would take up too much of your time. Because really, I mean, that's what we want to do in this business. You want to get as efficient as possible, because when you get these facilities, you don't want to be the person that's taking the calls and all that stuff. You don't have time for that. You want to be the person that's physically going there, tending with all like you don't have time for that. Like what if you have 10 facilities? There's no way you can do all this stuff, right? So you want to be able to work smarter. So leverage call, those call centers that are affordable, or leverage a VA to answer the phone for you. Leverage other people and other systems and services, and that's going to allow you to be more efficient. Instead of working in the business, you're going to work more on the business, and you can expand the business and of course earn more, not just for yourself but your investors, make everyone happy, expand your portfolio, and it's all about that efficiency thing. So a lot of people get burnt out. I mean, a lot of people that you might actually buy these facilities from, those are those people that just have owned this facility for 30 years, and they're there every single day. They're doing all those, they're just burnt out because they're actually doing all the work. And sure, they're saving on the labor. They don't have to hire someone to do it, but really it's going to burn you out when you're not going to be able to, grow and expand if, you're the person doing all the work. So that's why you leverage other services, paid services and, VAs and stuff like that, because they're able to allow you to use your time more effectively and wisely on stuff that's going to get you a little bit further. So thanks for coming, Vivian. Got to run. Yeah, I know we're way over on time here, but any other questions, guys? Anything else you guys want to talk about or take a look at? Did you guys find this beneficial? I mean, does it seem pretty simple how to underwrite these deals in a few seconds?
Any chance you're going to Vegas?
I want to do that, actually. I do. I haven't committed to that yet, but I'm going to try to make it work. I got a lot going on next week, but if I could get enough coverage on the stuff I got to work on, I'll try to make it out there. We're going to be launching another restaurant coming up too soon, so that's going to be taking up a bit of time, but yeah, we're going to do that. But for the recording, and whoever sticks around, let's do a 90-second. What are we doing on time? My thing's making some noise here. What I got scheduled? I'm good. Let's go to Crexy and find a deal real quick. Actually, here's this one here. Let's just use this. Let's do this real quick. 90 seconds. So where's this thing at? Let's see the address so far. Am I missing it? They have the address. Might have over here. There we go. There we go. Yeah, they would have had it here. Pop this open. Take a look at it. Not too big. Oh, okay. Not fenced. I'd probably want to put a fence around it. Add security. Maybe some security gates to get in, automate that. All right, pretty cool. Go back to where was that on Crexy? Here we go. Get the OM again. Get the all those details. Cool. We'll come back to that. All right, what are we looking at here? NOI, I don't care about that. Expenses is 44,000. What are they bringing in? Effective gross income. What's their occupancy? Gross potential 130. That's all we care about. 130. Expenses are about, what did they say? NOI expenses 10. What? No way. I could adjust it pro forma. Yeah, we'll do 40. We'll do 44,000. 130. Let's go here. Pop this open. 130. We got 44,000, which is going to be do like 38. Yep, good enough, close enough. Now, what's the purchase price of this thing? Closer to here. Offering price 1.3. All right. We are going to heavily discount this sucker. We gotta look at the occupancy. Wow. Oh, do they say? Oh, here we go. Economic occupancy 77. Physical occupancy. Okay, so 77. Okay. we'll just do about vacancy of 25. All right, so get that to there. Boom, boom, boom. This is gonna be actually more now because of that. 40. 3, 4. Yeah, close enough. Okay. Boom. All right, so this is like a 0.5 DSCR. So we're gonna really modify the heck out of this thing. We're not gonna do 1.3. We know that, okay, so if we get this thing, the vacancy to only 10%, make the expense ratio, we could probably shave a little bit off, 30%. Yeah, okay, we could that's manageable. We got to see how much we can increase the rent. So what we would do is we would go to that, where do they have that? They had here we go. What's a 10 by 10 go for? 10 by 10, street rates. Okay. 120. Okay, so we're about 120. Let's grab that. Let's grab that real quick. Go to radius plus. Put that in there. Just gonna find it. It's okay. Let's go back to here. Let's go to Google. Put that in. Elm Street, the Colony, Texas. It's not coming up. Just go to locations here. See if this comes up. Okay. Well, we're just kind of looking this area. But that facility was not coming up. Wow. Okay. We're 5 mile radius, 2.7. What are we looking at population? Okay. Wow. Okay. A lot of people in this area. Okay. Let's take a look at the competitors. It's a 555 go for. I mean, the 10 by 10 go for. Average monthly 10 by 10, 155. They're charging 10 by 10, what again was 120, 155. We know we can increase the price by, let's say, at least 10%. Yeah, to get it up there. So of course you could do the math a little bit better. So at least 10%, you're looking at a bit more. So even with that, even if we have less of a vacancy, increase the price by a little bit on our stuff, get a little more efficient with our expenses, still a 1.3 price point is not going to be good enough. So I'm gonna knock this down to like, let's do a couple hundred would do. Not good enough. So let's do like 9. So we're looking at, okay, that's a lot. So let's put an extra 5 on that. Okay, let's just do 1. Okay, that works. So we could offer that, and I'm not trying to. So, oops. So we know that $1 million would work for this, and their purchase price that they had it on would not work. But I want to land on $1 million at the highest. So I might offer first like 9. And then, I know that would work, but I could argue like, hey man, look at your DSCR. I got all this risk. I'm losing 10 grand a year or more. I got the vacancy loss of this. I mean, you guys, 25% vacancy, whatever. So you can kind of negotiate that. And of course, they're going to want a little more. So hopefully you land somewhere close to $1 million, or maybe you can actually go less. 9.5 you might land on, get a good DSCR, good 12-month profit. The following year, of course, you might be able to do a little bit better. So that's how you can kind of do it like super quick. Just get all this stuff in the OM, pop open in Google, take a quick look at the facility, just kind of look at, okay, cool, no fence. I know I need to add that, good value add. I know I could add an extra 5% maybe on that. So different things like that that help you kind of do that, pop it open radius plus. Of course, you're going to look at compare apples to apples on the different, unit prices, all that stuff. Of course, you're going to look at the trade area, find out the square footage per capita is, of course, find out what the population is, all that stuff. So okay. So the colony is a nicer area in Texas. Yeah, I figured by all the, the lake here. So I mean, it would be nice if this property had where was that? be nice if this property actually had extra land to expand because, let's say it came with this parking lot or it came with like this land over here. I mean, that'd be great because you do boat and RV parking, and it's awesome because you have, oh, this is not the, is this the same one? Yeah, yeah, Colony. So, this right here, I mean, look at this nice lake here. And, like Elise said, there's some really good, nice, it's a nicer area. So there's probably some really nice houses here. Really nice, I mean, look, they little tennis court there. Sure, they're going to turn this into a nice park. But anyway, yeah, so boat and RV would be really good for this facility. So I look for properties that are not just like this. They might have that land to expand, let's say a field out back or something like that, an extra couple acres. Um, allows you to expand a little bit more. Yeah, the Dallas big metro area, high income. Yeah, so if it's higher income, then we could offer more. Let's take a look at what's around here. Yeah, Dallas is pretty close. Um, actually, you know what? The Limitless Expo was over here at the, what was it, the Gaylord Center, or whatever it's called. Is that over here? I forget what that is. Yeah, I'm right. Yeah, so I was over here. I stayed at a hotel like right next to there last year. I think they're doing it again. Limitless Expo. I'm gonna go to that. Really, really good conference. They got AJ speaks at it every year. Hung out with him and a bunch of SSI people too last year. Definitely check that out. But yeah, really, really nice area. So this facility I could have actually drove to when I was out there. I'm gonna be out this way again. I think when is it? August? Next one is something like that. But check out the Limitless Expo. Um, and then yeah, so any other questions, guys? Anybody have a property? I could analyze one of your properties if any of you guys have any that we want to take a look at. But if not, yeah, you're gonna go there, Ellie? Awesome. Yeah, good, really good conference. So quite a few of us still left on. Any questions you guys might have? Really storage related, investing related, business related, systems related. Just yeah, fire away if there's anything else you guys
Hey,
have.
Chris, just regarding the Radius Plus, I was going to ask you, do you have a monthly subscription, or I think they sell credits as well, right?
Yep, they
Apparently.
sell credits. You can do one-offs. You can actually output a PDF. That's really nice, really robust. You can actually send this to your lender, and it shows an analysis, a deep analysis of what's actually in this trade area. Pretty much a really deep analysis of the economics and all that stuff, and of the facility itself. Like it'll go backwards and show you historical records and stuff like that of what the facility, what the data is on that facility.
So my
Um,
question on that was, you know how you were saying that you want to quickly like whip out these LOIs. You don't want to be sitting on it one by one. You know how
yeah.
you were sending all these names out. My question to you is that obviously with Radius Plus, what I just found out, maybe it's not true because I was trying to play around with it, is that even like one session is like one credit. So you run out of credits or you get the monthly subscription. I think it's like $300 or something like that, which is not bad if you're underwriting crazy on a daily
Yeah.
basis. I'm just curious, do you use any other software that might be more feasible economically for new investors like me and some other people?
Um, I mean, you don't have to use Radius Plus for it. I use it mostly just to look at what competitors are like quickly what competitors are actually charging. Also, the trade area. I want to know what the square footage per capita is. That's really important to know if this is like oversaturated or not. I want to know some basic economic information, like how many people are within that radius. I want to make sure that it's not, I mean, I almost moved forward on a facility, and this is a while ago, that only had like 1,000 people in the area. So it's like, oh my gosh, this is such a steal. This is great. It's almost fully occupied. This is, whatever. It's gonna be awesome. There's land to expand at like an extra 4 acres to build onto, right? All this stuff. But then when it came down to it, there's only 1,000 people within a 5 mile radius. And it's like, oh gosh, I'm not gonna be able to expand because I can't fill this thing. I'm probably barely gonna be able to keep the amount of people I have in there right now. So didn't end up moving forward on that. So it's good to have those basic details and you just know what to scan for. Just put the thing in, look up at the real quick at the square footage per capita, then scroll down real quick, look at the population, look at other basic economics. There's growth rates and stuff you can look at too. You want to look at that. I didn't really tap into that, but other quick things you just kind of glance over, you just kind of know, make a mental note, grab that, of course, look into Google, take a look at the facility itself, street view, also aerial view of everything, kind of like what we're looking at now on the page. Then you go to the OM or whatever information they have, bam, plug in all the numbers one by one, then you kind of know, you just play with different factors. Oh gosh, I can't charge this much. I can't pay this much for this property, so I'm going to actually put the price down. You kind of just do this real quick, and then you're like, okay, boom. All right, this is what we're looking at. Awesome. So you could do all this within a minute and a half, like easily. Actually, I've done it in 60 seconds before. So, um, and you don't have to do that. I mean, take your time, take 5 minutes, 10 minutes if you want to, but the main thing is like you don't have to get this spreadsheet with a million things you got to plug in uh that you're going to end up using later on anyway, to take into account every little factor that you're going to want to look at. But to submit an offer, like you don't need to do that. And a lot of people are afraid to submit offers because they're like, oh gosh, am I missing something? What's this field here? What do but you don't need to know that. You just need to know basically kind of what the expenses are. If you don't really know the expenses, just put like 40%, or, it's a big facility, maybe it's only 30%. Keep in mind, smaller facilities have a higher expense ratio, a higher percentage, just because those fixed costs, goes down as you scale. So anyway, so that's kind of what I,
Okay, that's good to know. So you don't have to necessarily always go
yeah,
Radius Plus.
sorry, I
Radius
didn't really
Plus.
answer your question, but you don't have to, but I do it because, um, I could basically go on to Crexi right now and I could find probably 100 facilities that I could just submit offers on right now.
Gotcha.
Just by there's a bunch of OMs there, a bunch of offer, they give you all the details. So I can just pop that open, take the time, plug in the numbers, and there we go. So,
Gotcha. Thank
so I
you.
mean, that's really, you just need those numbers, but I use Radius Plus to make an educated decision if this is actually a good area, because you could find those details out on the population and all that stuff. It just takes longer. The square footage per capita, you're not going to find that on Google. So you're going to need that. You're not going to easily find. I mean, you could call around and find out what people are charging all the facilities, but that's going to take you time. Radius Plus will
Yeah.
just save you time. So, do that or partner with someone like myself that actually has access to all these tools. I mean, a lot of people just do that. They'll do all the basic preliminary underwriting using my calculator. We'll meet. And then I'm like, okay, cool, this is great. Then I'll just throw it in a Radius Plus real quick, do a quick drill down. And then
Yeah.
we're able to submit a ton of offers, really. So
Gotcha.
yeah, just don't be afraid to submit offers. I mean, worst they could say is no, but at least you'll have, using that calculator, you have a good way of making a pretty educated decision on what you're going to actually want to offer. So
Yeah. But the reason I asked you is because not only that, I'm in Toronto, so I do travel to
yeah.
my parents in Florida.
Mhm.
I'm actually cold calling a lot of like local mom and pop owners in a small
Yeah.
city that I live in. It's called Oldsmar. Not a lot of people know about it. It's nearby
Hmm.
Clearwater.
Yeah.
It's St. Pete area. Anyways, so when they ask me, yes, I'm interested, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get you an offer. And then I usually take a lot of time, feel like I'm not that pro at it. So I'm like, Radius Plus has the data because I'm not there, but I know the area because I know the area well,
Sure.
just like you in Southern California, right? So that's why I think Radius Plus comes in really handy because then you can plug in their address of their small facility or whatever it is. And then you can tell them, hey, based on this calculator that Chris has, your not necessarily, I don't say Chris has, but like I usually say like, your DSR is a little lower. But yeah, so I think that's why Radius Plus comes in really handy when you're making cold calling offers, I think.
Oh yeah. I mean, on the fly, you can look at all the details. You can say, oh yeah, I mean, it looks like you're actually down the street from this facility. You're looking at it on Google. You know what the thing looks
Yeah.
like. You got Radius
Yeah.
Plus open. You know there's 5 facilities around it. You know what the competitors are charging. You could even tell the guy like, oh my gosh, like you're charging like 120 for your 10 by 10s. I mean, but the guy, everyone else is charging 90. I mean, maybe that's why you have such a high vacancy. I mean, it allows you to really analyze like super quick. Like I said, you could do this in 90 seconds. So if you're cold calling and you have the address, somebody answers, because that's what I've done. I've done, these hour-long cold calling sessions with people on my team. And you call people up and you reach someone, you're like, okay, cool, awesome. Well, you already have in front of you all the details. And if you're tag teaming it, maybe one person is on the phone and you can use like Google Voice. I could still use my microphone and speakers and all that stuff too. But my whoever I'm teaming up with, we're on like a Zoom call or something like that, or Google Meet, they're maybe pulling up and analyzing the stuff while I'm talking to them. So they're doing all that analysis. You could do it yourself still, but if you're working with others, you could divide and call, you could do this even quicker if somebody's doing that while you're calling, but you could do it yourself, of course. just with your handheld mobile device, but you can pull these details up like super fast, and you have a good snapshot of really what this facility is, what the economics are. You know, you see how many people are in the city, you see the population growth. You could see that around the corner there's you know, let's say it's about an RV facility. You can see up the street there's a place that actually sells boats or sells RVs, or maybe there's a
Mhm.
outdoor world up the street or something like that that might also sell boats or something. So there's different partnership opportunities where you're like, oh gosh, I really like this facility because I could partner with these different, you know, places that can maybe send business my way. Once they buy something from there, there's a place to park it. So you know, you could talk to them about that, like, oh yeah, are you partnering with that outdoor world up the street? You know, I know they sell some really good boats and stuff like that. You know, have you thought about that? And you know, it's a good way of striking up a conversation. And the main thing with the sellers are you want to build rapport. You want to be personable. You don't want to be really salesy and stuff like that. You want to talk shop because they own storage. You own storage. This could be with apartments too. You know, you own that. They own that. You want to build that rapport. You don't want to sound very salesy. You just want to kind of build a relationship and kind of talk to them a little bit. And I've talked to people for like a whole hour building rapport, and then they end up wanting to kind of move forward. And I get a good feel for where they're at with their facility, what their motivation is, different things like that. And then the thing is, like, somebody might not want to sell today, but if you built rapport, like, oh yeah, who's that guy? Ellie? Oh, that's right. Yeah. I want to sell now. What's his name? He gave me his number. They find it, you know, or emailed me. So when they do want to sell, you're the guy that they want to call, you know, the guy or gal they want to call because you know, they're like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. He's going to be easy to work with. I love talking to him. He already knows the area. So, you know, that's it, it never hurts to build relationships. If somebody says no on the phone as you're cold
Yeah.
calling, if you built that rapport, they'll hit you up. Same goes with brokers. You blast them like I said on Crexy. They might not go with you today, but I mean, they might not have the property. You might not move forward on the property you're actually responding to, but they have your details. You build that relationship over email or maybe over the phone, and then they just send it directly to you instead of like before they listed, like, yeah, I'm gonna list this next week, but why don't you take a quick peek at it, you know, see what you think about it. You know, I know that you care about facilities with X, Y, and Z. This one has this, and
Mhm.
you know, you're able to make it more, you know, relationships are huge. People like to work with
Yeah.
people like to work with people they know,
Mhm.
and that's why, you know, a lot of these a lot of the best deals are done by, you know, working with people you have a relationship already with.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I know we've gone way over time here. Thanks for sticking around the 13 or so that are left here. But any last questions, guys? You have
I
any?
have just a quick one, if it is.
Yeah, yeah,
If you were looking to get in, you know, as a partner and put in the money, would you have access to learn how the operations work?
yeah. Oh, you're looking to partner with be like a capital partner, but still kind of learn some stuff along the way. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, absolutely. So, you know, I mean, I work with a lot of people that are capital partners that want to be more active. You know, not all deals have to be a syndication where people are passive. I mean, the ones that are, you know, 3, 5 million, you know, 3 million, 5 million, you know, those bigger deals, you're probably going to be syndicating those, a lot of passive investors. But, you know, a lot of the smaller deals, I mean, even the other ones, you know, that are that big, if people have larger amounts they want to invest but be more active, yeah, by all means do that. But I have a lot of deals where the capital partners are also more active. We don't have to, you know, do a syndication where everyone's passive. They're more active and they're learning along the way as well. And then in addition to you know, putting some cash into the deal, maybe for the down payment or something like that, they're able to kind of, you know, see how things run on a day-to-day basis. And you know, a lot of you guys know me already, and I love just helping others, and you know, I love seeing people kind of grow. As you know, and learn this stuff. I mean, that's why I put all those courses out and stuff like that. If you guys want to, I'll put that back up on the screen. There's some, oop, actually, wait, where was it? It's the next slide. Yeah, so you can go to statingatreal.com. It's kind of a play on words like real estate, stating, anyway, funny name, but hop over there and there, I got a bunch of free courses and other really inexpensive paid courses. I also offer some mentorship and some coaching and stuff like that too. But hopping on some deals as more of a active capital partner, I have tons of people that do that, and it's a great
Oh,
way to
that'd be
learn.
awesome.
Yeah, great way to learn. And you know, you get to learn, you know, stuff like you know, learn how all these systems work, learn how you know, SiteLink works, And yeah, just how the day-to-day operations work. And I'm all about efficiency and making stuff utilizing systems and technology to make stuff work really well. So I'm all about that, and I'd love to show you kind of what's under the hood of the operations when it comes to these different facilities. So yeah,
Cool.
sure. Let's
Thank you.
on that. So if you want to make sure you jot down my personal email, which is here, chris@chriskirkman.com. Of course, we connect on Instagram and LinkedIn. Here's all that stuff. Here's the number you can reach me at. I'm in the Orange County area, offices in Laguna Hills. But yeah, any last questions, guys? Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for joining. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna go ahead and shoot this recording out once it's available. And yeah, let's definitely stay in touch. I'll be doing more of these, and hopefully got some stuff, some info out of this. And yeah, if you want some help underwriting a deal or have a deal you want me to take a look at, definitely love to do that. So just reach out. And again, I I urge you to just send as many OIs out as possible. Really the you're never going to be too ready. So don't think you got to learn a bunch more to start doing this. The way to learn is to actually do. So just get out there, do stuff. If you need help with, partner with others could help you with stuff, and you could actually be doing with somebody else. So uh, the time is now to hop in there, maybe just start going to Crexy, grab some quick deals, even practice on them. You don't have to submit offers, but never hurts. And if you get an offer accepted, you're like, oh shoot, what do I do? Then just if you're part of the storage community, or if you're not, you could hit me up on Instagram, or shoot me an email. I'd love to help you. I could help you find people to work with you on. I could help you find capital for that deal. So never be afraid if you get an offer accepted, because there's always a way to fund it. There's people you could partner with. Like I said, you don't need the whole pie. A small piece of many pies goes a long way. So, and also you get to build your portfolio that way. You just have a small piece of a ton of pies, and before you know it, you got thousands of units worth of storage. So, and it's the same with apartments or other types of real estate sectors too. So, just be at least a small part of a lot of different deals. You're going to learn more and have a pretty large portfolio that you're part of, instead of just having like one property that you own the whole thing of. That's going to end up being a headache, because you're going to do stuff that you're not good at or don't like. So, but anyway, yeah, thanks everybody for joining. If you have any additional questions, definitely reach out. Love to help you out with whatever. And I'll be doing more of these, and I'll keep you all on the email distribution list, and hopefully you could join more of these. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day and an awesome Easter as well.